Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Philippine School of Interior Design. For nearly 60 years, PSID has been shaping the careers of the country's interior designers. And today, we're bringing PSID straight to you, wherever you are, completely free. My name is G. Pambid, and I am the Vice President for Academic Affairs of the Philippine School of Interior Design and also the Creative Director of JP Lake and Associates. And I am genuinely excited to spend this afternoon with you. Before anything else, rather, I would like to know who's actually in the room. Can you please link it in the chat where you are joining from? And while you're typing, are you a high school student? Are you someone thinking about a career shift? Or maybe a parent exploring options for your child? Or just somebody who is actually just curious about interior design? So please let us know in the chat. So we have Paul with his daughter, Louise, who is a third year high school student. So welcome. And then we also have somebody from Quezon City, si Ron, and here interested for a second degree. And then we also have a parent from Alabang interested in interior design. And then somebody who's also mobile from Pasig City. And then another one from Poveda, planning on going into interior design. So, dami. There are a lot of people, and then it's very interesting that we have different backgrounds. And then another parent. Hi, Macy, with your daughter Morgan, and then another parent from Cainta. And this time it's the parent who's interested in interior design. And then also another architect from Bulacan, wanting to learn more about interior design. This is good because architects and interior designers usually collaborate. And then another one, si Michelle from QC, considering on getting an ID or an interior designer course for a second career. Now we have good afternoon, Charmaine from Parañaque, interested in interior design but also thinking about changing her career. So there's a lot of people here, and of course, the reason why you're here with us today is because you want to, hopefully join us here in PSID for your career, or in this case, a second career. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. It's amazing that we have people from all over. Now, whether you are a future interior designer, whether you are switching careers, or in this case, marami din tayong mga parents exploring the options for their children, or again, simply curious about what interior design is all about, thank you very much for spending your Saturday with us. Now, a little bit of housekeeping lang so that we have a smooth afternoon. Now, everyone is on mute, and that's on purpose, okay? So use the chat for everything, whether you have questions, reactions, or simply wanting to contribute to the talk. We're reading all of it and we'll bring the best questions straight to our guest speakers for today. Now, if you haven't downloaded your sketch worksheet yet, check the link and then we're pinning it in the chat right now. You'll need it, plus of course, a pencil or anything that you'd like to draw with, pero preferably pencils talaga. And then of course, we'll be using that in about 30 minutes. Okay, so again, maraming salamat sa lahat ng nandito ngayon. But again, meron kami mga surprises for all of you because everyone who is still here with us at the end of this particular open house is automatically entered to win 2,500 pesos cash at the end. So we're now flashing, of course, the mechanics of how you can get to win 2,500 pesos. Now, there are no extra steps, just the ones that we're flashing. This is our way of saying thanks for spending your afternoon with PSID at the open house. As an added bonus, you're also, of course, encouraged to join our freehand shade along later on with Miss Claudine. And submit your artwork for a chance to win a set of Faber-Castell watercolor pencils. Now, all entries will be reviewed after the program and we'll announce the winner soon after. Now, syempre, a lot of people are actually thinking of interior design as a career, but marami tayong matututunan today. And one of that is actually that interior design is simply not about making things that. Those of us who do this for a living now, of course, including the panel that we have, who's going to be talking to you later, it's much more than just, again, beautifying interior spaces. It's about understanding people, it's about understanding needs, it's about solving problems basically in not only in the home but in the workplace as well. And of course, creating experiences, designing environments for all of us that of course genuinely want to improve our everyday lives. Now, I am also a product of PSID of batch 1993. So very, very long time ago. So at this point, I'd like to share, of course, what I call my informed choices. Now, it's very, very interesting that the reasons why I chose interior design before as an alternative career is also the same reasons why I'm suggesting that you, of course, choose this as your career as well. So let's go through the different slides. Yeah, and so I've narrowed it down to history and reputation, PSID's track record, the curriculum, the faculty, and of course, the community. Next one, please. So all about history and reputation, close to 60 years of excellence in interior design education. We are the only school in the country that specializes solely on interior design education. So when you're with us, we're not going to like teach you anything else, but basically just interior design. It was founded by luminaries in various art, architecture, and design fields. You'll get to know that a little bit more when you, of course, join us. And then we have the privilege and the honor to mount the best interior design exhibits in the academe. And hopefully, you get to experience this as well. Next one. Now, as far as our track record is concerned, we boast of having been in the top 10 in the national board exam since its inception, producing a total of 6 top-notchers. Of course, our program guarantees employability of graduates in different fields of interior design. If you're a graduate of PSID, hindi ka mawawalan ng trabaho. There's always going to be an opportunity for you to earn your living. The graduates go on to put up and establish their own respective firms, building their own reputations. And we have very, very prominent interior design firms today who will be talking about their journey as well. We have Morfosis and, of course, Oasis Interiors. And of the most recent, we have been ranked among the top 3 interior design institutions in the country as evidenced by the recent board exams. So we're very, very proud of that. Now, our curriculum is a valid, standardized, and cyclical curriculum. So we do not actually allow for stagnation in the curriculum. We always make it a point to actually develop and constantly improve our curriculum. PSID is a member of CEDE, the Council of Interior Design Educators, that guarantees a standardized curriculum across the board. Now, we have relevant course offerings with practical and real-life applications. And of course, the school allows for continuous curriculum development. And then, of course, we're also very, very proud of our faculty, which are basically composed of licensed and practicing professionals. All of our faculty are actually practicing professionals, meaning that there may be a time that you'll see them only once a week because, of course, they're very busy with their own respective practices. Now, all of us are holders of master's degree in interior design and allied fields. And then, of course, we always maintain a comfortable and stress-free classroom environment. We make learning fun in this school. Now, of course, we have very personal and communicative methods of teaching because we only have a maximum of about 25 to 30 people per class. And then, of course, lastly, which I think is, again, very, very important, is the community. Can we have that last slide, please? Now, the PSID campus promotes an environment that is more casual than formal. And of course, our students can attest to that. We do not have uniforms, but we're very, very strict, of course, on respect and discipline. There are no inter-year barriers. What do I mean by this? The freshmen, the sophomores, the juniors, and the seniors coexist harmoniously. Everybody knows everybody else because we are more or less a very, very tight-knit community. We have a strict anti-bullying policy, so we do not, of course, allow for any kind of bullying, cyberbullying or physical bullying. Now, and of course, lastly, the PSID campus promotes a creative and free thinking atmosphere. We actually, of course, encourage creativity in all its forms. So experience. Now, syempre, when every career or every professional career starts with this particular question. Can I really build a career out of my creativity? Maybe you've asked it yourself. Maybe someone has asked it for you. Maybe your parent, or maybe your tita, or maybe your teacher from high school. So rather than me answering it, we've invited people who've already lived the answer. Our first guests are the alumni behind Morfosis, one of the country's leading design studios behind commercial interiors, brand experiences, and spaces that people genuinely remember. These are, of course, your restaurants, your retail outlets, hotels, workspaces. They see design as a language of form and emotion. And here's the part that matters most for this room. They started exactly where you are now, right here at PSID. So, guys, please welcome with your reactions, your hearts, your claps in the chat, Miss Pi Edles and Miss Misty Floro of Morfosis.
Hi, everyone. Hello. So, good afternoon. My name is Misty, and I'm the co-founder and design principal of Morphosis. Unfortunately, my partner Pai can't be here today, but ikukwento ko rin sa inyo yung journey niya since I will be talking about the Morphosis journey from pre-PSID, PSID, and then post-PSID. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Maybe give a thumbs up. Okay, so I put here the question, could your creativity become your career? So the Morphosis, I'm going to be talking about the Morphosis journey from mahilig lang ako maglaro ng Sims, as you can see in the background, to building a multidisciplinary creative studio. So yes, that is actually part of my story. Okay, so next. Raise your hand if, so for those thinking about getting into interior design or studying interior design, raise your hand if you've heard this. I'm not sure if I can see, pero I think there's a button, diba, on Zoom. So, hobby lang yan. Narinig niyo na ba yan? Has anyone heard this? Make a reaction or raise your hand. Ayan, meron mga nag-raise ng hand. Meron na bang nakarinig ng walang pera dyan? Meron ba? Meron pa rin mga naka-raise. Ayan, mas madami. Okay. 'Di ba drawing lang 'yan? Madali lang 'yan eh, drawing lang. Meron ba nakarinig niyan? And then lastly, what's interior design? Actually, I think a lot of people still don't know what is interior design, 'di ba? So part of our job as interior designers now is to educate the public. So I know you've been hearing about this. Maybe some of you have heard these lines. But if you really have that passion or desire in you, it will actually make you pursue. And you'll find out along the journey what interior design is to you. So let me share my story. So hopefully some of you can relate. So pre-PSID, before we knew this was a path, there were signs. Okay, hindi ko na ilagay yung exact date, a year of birth, pero 1980s to early 2000s. First, you can see here a picture of me. I think I was 4 years old, very kikay, and ang toys ko dyan is Barbie dollhouse. Okay, so mahilig na ako sa mga dollhouse, ganyan. And then I mentioned earlier, in high school, it's actually my hobby every summer, every after class to play The Sims. And I enjoyed building the houses, designing the houses, rather than actually playing the game. Who can relate? Raise your hand. So, meron pa ba naglalaro ng Sims? I think meron pa naman, konti. Okay. And then, so, out of high school, pretty much, I knew I wanted to take up interior design. But then, I was an obedient daughter. My parents said, "O, ano yan? Ano yung interior design? Walang pera dyan. Create, ano lang yan? Hobby lang." So, sa kanila ko narinig some of those lines, diba? So, I became an obedient daughter and enrolled in Ateneo de Manila University under the degree Management of Economics. So, I took a business course first. So, that was my pre-PSID. So, next, for my partner naman, what's different for Pai? She was exposed to the construction site since her father was an engineer and contractor. So, puro blueprints, familiar siya sa mga materials and construction. And at that time, her first course was interior design already at the time when De La Salle College of St. Benilde had a consortium with PSID. So, the difference is ako is second course and siya is first course niya. Okay, so there were signs and I'm sure sa mga nag-chat kanina, meron din signs. That's why you're here also in this talk. Okay, so now after I graduated in Ateneo, that's when my parents said, "Okay, you can do whatever you want na." So sabi ko, I really wanna enroll in PSID. And I would title this The Beautiful Chaos. Okay, very beautiful chaos. Why? Because here I learned that design is not just taste, it's not just aesthetics, but it is very much a discipline. So we all think about design, the aesthetics of it, the beauty, but we also don't think of the other side, which is the discipline and the discipline, the rigor, and the business side of things. So I have here a few photos, throwback tayo konti. So there were a lot of fun projects. For example, I think this is the furniture design class where we designed our own furniture pieces. So you see here the table, a chair, and the daybed here. So our group mates came up with all these furniture. And then we also had trips to Wilcon, to Home Depots, and we also had, special projects, let's say like flower arranging or styling. So, which shows na very hands-on talaga yung education in PSID. And Sir G mentioned earlier, we have the culminating exhibit. So this was our exhibit back then. I'm sure the exhibits now, so this was 2008. The exhibits now are so much better, so much nicer, and sobrang bongga. But this is ours, and our theme before was sustainable design. So even up to now, it's very relevant. The design themes that we did in the past exhibits, they're still very relevant, and we use these concepts up to today. Okay. And Sergi mentioned also about the community. What I love most about PSID are the people, the network we created. So it's inter-batch, walang inter-year barrier, right? So we have here the fresh grads, second coursers, professionals, the mommies, the hobbyists, lahat. So it also teaches you to deal with a different range of people, makisama, and create these relationships. And I'm happy to say that a lot of our batchmates are still good friends up to now, and we also gather pa rin up to now. Okay. So, PSID survival kit, ano ba yung mga important must-haves? Either coffee, but for me, it's Coca-Cola. Ayan, tracing paper, laser meter, T-square, tape measure, and of course, your laptop helped me survive, di ba? And thrive, actually. Not only survive and thrive in PSID, but I'd be lying if I would say na walang emotional damage. May konting emotional damage, but it helped me be the strong designer that I am today. And it led us to graduation. Okay, so this was our graduation in 2008. Tagal na pala. So, and then after the graduation, for me, I decided to take up the licensure examination already. So, thankfully, I passed the licensure examination in 2009. Okay, so after PSID, that's when we started entering the real world. It's time to apply our skills that we learned in PSID. And here you'll see that there are really many avenues that an interior designer can enter. So first, actually, this was during the final months of my PSID stint. I was a visual merchandiser for Crossings department store, a well-known department store that time. So I did visual merchandising or window displays on the side. So that's one avenue. Next, another career is you'll see here Real Living magazine. So I was hired for some styling projects for Real Living magazine. Where would we would create vignettes for a photo shoot or a video shoot, or we would style and set up the houses or the spaces that they would feature in the magazine. Okay, so I also actually was employed at a small design firm run by a Japanese designer. So for a couple of years, I stayed there and, kind of experienced everything, all aspects of the interior design world until, I started to get my own projects on the side. And it got to a point where I couldn't juggle both anymore, a full-time job and my sideline. So that's when we started to put up Morphosis. So this was around 2011 to 2013. And you'll see here our office is in QC. Right now, we have a team of 11 designers plus two design principals. So this is where the design happens. So for Morphosis right now, we are on actually our 13th year. 2026 is our 13th year. And at the start, of course, hindi mo muna pipiliin what kind of projects you'll get, 'di ba? Sometimes you'll grab all kinds of projects, but along the way you'll realize what projects work for you, or maybe what you're good at, what your forte is. And for us, we have found out, or we have experienced that we thrive in doing commercial projects. So right now, 70% of our projects are commercial projects, meaning retail design, restaurant design, office design. So those are the types of commercial projects that we do, but we still do and have a lot of fun doing residential projects. So we still have those condos. For example, this one, the cat condo, one of our favorites. So at Morphosis, we really strive to do out of the box design. So something designing places that people will really remember. So if you'll see in our designs, they tend to be a bit bold and very unique. So that's really one of the values that we try to practice at Morphosis. So this is an example of a condo that we did. And then we also do hospitality. This is Quilyawan Farm Resort in Ibaan, Batangas. Maybe some of you have stayed here already. And I mentioned earlier that being a graduate of interior design, you can get into different avenues of design, right? So our journey also led us to doing branding or brand identity. For this project, we also did the branding or the brand identity, so the logo of Kilyawan Farm Resort. It came out of a need because business owners would come to us with new concepts, and we would ask them, oh, do you have a logo already? Do you have a brand identity already? And sasabihin nila, Misty, wala pa. So, as lovers of design, we would chime in with our thoughts. And we would offer our graphic design and brand identity services. Okay, so that's our work for Kilyawan Farm Resort. And oh, and by the way, this project won the World Architecture Festival, a very prestigious prize internationally, because this project is a sustainable project and led by architect Dom Galicia and Associates. And we are very proud to be part of this project as the interior designers. Next, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this brand. So Lola Nenas, we also worked on the interior design, on the brand identity design and the interior design of their stores. And this was a pandemic project. I got this project by shooting my shot on Facebook. So there was just like an anonymous post by someone who was looking for a commercial designer or someone who designed restaurants. And I just messaged that person, and this was the ending. So it turned out that she was one of the owners of Lola Nenas, and the rest is history. So up to now, we're still involved with them. We still consult on their interior design, on their store designs. And we're happy to have worked on more than around 50 of their stores. Okay. So similar thing for Shoe Salon. This was also, we got this project through Instagram, an inquiry on Instagram. We have worked on Shoe Salon. They are our clients for more than 10 years already. And we have similarly designed I think more than 30 to 40 of their stores already all around the Philippines. So this was the most recent one in Shoe Salon Mall of Asia. And yeah, these are some of the other branches like in Trinoma, One Ayala, Podium, Green Hills Mall. And recently, a couple of years back, uh, we also got this project, 24 Chicken. So similarly, we've worked on more than 50 of their branches already thus far. And lastly, Pepper Lunch. We also have worked on more than 60, I think 60 to 100 stores already for Pepper Lunch. So we worked with their design principles in Singapore and Japan to come up with the design for each store here in the Philippines. So, nalinya lang kami sa commercial design probably because of our track record and experience. So, we tend to do quite well in repetitive projects, commercial projects, and these projects are very technical actually. So, it did take a lot of, learning along the way also. It's quite different from designing residential spaces. So maybe as parting words, be a cat. So for anyone wanting to get into interior design and wanting to have interior design as a career, number one, stay curious, look beyond what you already know. So for me, I think it's very important to really have a passion and love for design. Be curious about what's happening in the local and international design scene. So that's number one. Number two is being adaptable. So design rarely goes exactly as planned, and focus on solutions. So very exciting ang interior design industry. So there is no cookie cutter way to do interior design. Each project, even if it's the same design, same look per project, there's always something exciting happening along the way. So you must focus on solutions always. And lastly, for letter T, stay tenacious or keep showing up. Sometimes, it really gets difficult, but it doesn't compare to to, the satisfaction of seeing your vision come to life. It's really, really very fulfilling. So as long as you have the grit and heart for design, you have that passion for design, interior design can really become such a fulfilling profession for every one of you wanting to have interior design as your career. So be a cat. Okay, so that's my cat. So thank you, everyone. Please do follow us on our socials at Morphosis_PH on Instagram. We're also on TikTok and Facebook, and our personal socials as well at I Get Misty and at PSID. So appreciate if you could give us a follow and check out more of our projects. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Misty. Unfortunately, we didn't see Pai today. Looking forward to seeing her. Of course, needless to say, Misty and Pai were my students. I can remember
Yes.
photographs that you shared. So thank you very much for bringing us back to the 2000s.
Yes, you
But
were there,
thank
Sir
you.
G.
Yes,
Andun
I
ka
saw one of
sa
the pictures
photo.
there. Fantastic.
Yeah. And it
Uh,
was so much fun being your student.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Of course, needless to say, I'm very, very proud of what the two of you have accomplished. And of course, for always lending support to PSID projects. So before anything else, of course, we're going to go through the Q&A after this. But may I request everyone to please change their names with the real names para sa raffle. Thank you. So we can actually keep track of who actually registered. So kindly just change your name with your real name for the raffle. So that being said, of course, if you have any questions or whatsoever for Misty, and kindly just write it down on the chat so that we can actually have them answer your questions. But let me start with a question first, like looking back with your experience sa PSID, what do you think that was that one thing that helped you trace that path to which you are actually enjoying now?
It's actually not one thing, Sir G. I think it's really everything as a whole. I really enjoyed my time there, from the people to the profs to the activities. Talagang, it's the whole thing, I guess. Wala siyang one thing eh.
That's nice. I mean, it means that the experience was actually very holistic for you.
Yes,
Hopefully for
holistic.
hopefully for all the students, we would like to
Yeah.
be able to, of course, encourage that experience as well. Diba? That it's not just, it's not just learning how to draw or learning the different terms in history, but it's actually a composite of all these things that would, of course, prepare you for a career outside the school. Now, we have a
Yeah.
question here sa chat. What's the biggest misconception people have about what interior designers actually do on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, the biggest misconception is that it's a glamorous job. I would say there is some glam in it, of course, when you want to, but it's actually uh, it can be far from it. So there's a lot of nitty-gritty, diba? So you visit sites dark and dusty, and you never know what's beyond the corner of some sites, diba? You climb up rickety stairs on site visits. So yun, and that's number one. It's not all glamorous, but it can be. Yun.
We have a very interesting question here from
Oh,
Arlene. Would my age be a disadvantage if I enrolled in an ID program with much younger students? I am 58 years old and I sometimes wonder if I'll be able to keep up with the technology, design process, and the pace of learning. Do you think I can succeed in this field at my age?
yes. Actually, for me, as ako kasi middle I wasn't much younger than the older students at during my time, but I really enjoyed having the mommies or the titas there na I can learn from them, and then sila din, they can learn from us, 'di ba? So we would often be in one group, and then we'd have our strengths, we know our strengths, and then we just play on each other's strengths, 'di ba? And help each other out. So as long as you have that drive naman to learn the technology and the process, I don't think it's going to be a problem. In fact, it's minsan, 'di ba, when you're a little bit older, or it's your second course, or you know na you're more sure of what you want to achieve. So that lends a higher chance for success, I would say.
I would like to add to that, kay Arlene. I have a student now who's actually 68 years old. So everybody calls her, of course, tita, di ba? Or sometimes mommy. But she's enjoying herself. Sabi niya, she's having the time of her life. And then she didn't expect that she would actually learn how to draw or to do perspectives or to actually like color. So agreeing with what Misty said, just as long as you have the drive or the passion for it, I think it's something that you can explore and not be afraid of. Diba? I think it's only fear that would hold you back. But if you're like, open to it, PSID is going to be helping you with whatever it is that you need. Diba? I'll introduce you to her when you when you come to us in September. Now we have our last question here. Walk us through how one idea from a sketch actually becomes a finished built space. And then what's a skill every good designer needs that has nothing to do with drawing?
Okay, so wait, let's break that down. Medyo mahaba. The first question was from idea to the build project, right, Sergi? Tama ba?
Yes.
Okay, just in general terms, because each designer or firm has their own system. And our system that we use, it's called design thinking. So if you research about that, it is an internationally known parang thinking framework. So number one, that's design thinking. So there are like 5 steps to it. There's like a brainstorming, ideation, and then you prototype, and then after you prototype, you test the prototype, and then yung application. So it's a cycle. So we do have a system that we of course we tweaked it to our own style, but that's the basic framework that we use from start to finish to be able to execute a project from the start to finish. But what I can say is a very important step there is to really research and study about the needs and requirements of that project. I always tell my team to go back to the design brief, go back to what really are the needs and the goals for that project, and you'll never go wrong with the end product. And then, what's the second part, Sergi, of the question?
Wait, let me go back.
Yeah.
Um, what's a skill that every good designer needs that has nothing to do with drawing?
Okay. Learning how to sell yourself. Not in that way, selling your designs, your ideas, being out there. I've always, Sergi, siguro napansin mo to, but when I was in school, I was quite an introvert, diba? So I'm more on the introverted side. But, getting into the real world, I realized that hindi pwedeng mahiyain. So you should be able to face clients, communicate very well, because communication plays an important role not only to clients but all the trades that you'll be working alongside with. So having that, communication skills, and personal relations really help in this industry.
So thank you. Thank you very much, Misty.
Yeah.
And of course, I hope that our audience for today, they were able to really learn a lot from your presentation and of course from answering our questions. Marami pang questions actually, but unfortunately, hindi namin siya masasagutan lahat. But we're taking uh, note of everything that has been asked and we'll try as much as possible to answer your queries maybe a little later. But right now, since of course we've talked about all these creative tools that you will be needing, it's now time to actually use it. At PSID, we believe design isn't something you watch, it's something that you do. So at this point, please grab your pencils and your worksheet. And if you're comfortable, kindly also turn your camera on. We'd love to see the actual thing that you're doing with your pencils and your worksheets. And of course, leading us is someone who's very passionate about freehand drawing. Please welcome Professor Claudine Claudio.
Hi everyone. So I'll be teaching you a little bit about freehand drawing. So going to the question regarding what if you're not very good at drawing, it's not one of your skills. Don't worry, your professors here, your teachers here will be teaching you. So you all have your worksheets with you. But if you have like scratch paper, any blank paper, please get a blank paper first. So first of all, before we start our drawing, let's discuss three important points. First is how you hold the pencil. You can hold it this way, you can hold it here, or this way, but please avoid holding it at the very tip. Next, where you hinge from. You can either hinge from your wrist, your elbows, or your arm. Please avoid hinging with your fingers because it's going to prevent you from creating straight lines. It's going to curve your lines. And then third, the pressure you put on your pencil. So one, when you're drawing, you can use light pressure to create guidelines. And then harder pressure to create your outline. Next, for shading, you can use your light pressure to create light shading, medium, and then dark shading. For blending, as most of us are familiar with, light, medium, and dark. So let's start with drawing first the basic shape. So we have here our square, triangle, and circle. So if you want to convert your square into a 3D shape, you can do this. You draw two parallel lines here, side by side, and then on top and at the bottom. And then you draw diagonal lines, connect them, then another on top. That's one way to draw a cube. And then another way is that when you draw a vertical guideline this way, and then you draw parallel lines here on the right side, mimic it on the left side. Try to do it in the same angle and connect them. And then you can now darken your outlines. So once you're satisfied, then there's your cube. And then for the triangle, you can again create a light vertical line to serve as your guideline. You can draw a diagonal line on the left and on the opposite side as well. And then try to create an ellipse. How do you draw an ellipse? Try to make circular strokes, round strokes with your hands, and then when you're satisfied with your ellipse, you can trace over it with an outline. Next, drawing a sphere, drawing a circle, You can start with a vertical and a horizontal guideline. Then you create these 4 quadrants. You have to draw curved lines that are equal on all these 4 sides. Like this. And then trace over it once you're happy with your curved lines. So why do we teach these basic shapes? Because you can use these shapes to create your furniture. So going with the cube again, let's start with the base. So you know that it's on the floor and that can fit in your space. Next, you can create the back of your chair. So when do we use the cone and the sphere? Maybe you'd like to create a chair with tapered legs like this. Create your ellipse here and here. And then start creating your cone. Maybe you'd like a rounded foot. Create your circle there. Now you have a chair. So next, let's go on to your values. Let's try to practice first on the blank sheet of paper. We have here our hatching, cross-hatching, and stippling. So hatching is creating lines, shading lines with one layer only. Try to practice first. Try to be comfy with your pencil, light, medium, and dark. Another way to achieve this is by putting wider spacing in between the light lines, closer spacing for medium, and even closer spacing for your dark lines. Next, we have cross hatching. Cross hatching is doing 2 layers of the line. So when you draw your lines, try to keep the line straight and consistent. Keep the spacing in between a little more consistent so that when you shade, it doesn't look blotchy. And then the next line, the next layer. And then for the dark, we can do 3 layers. Try to avoid doing 90-degree intersecting lines as much as possible. So let's go on to our worksheet. If your pencil becomes dull, you can keep sharpening your pencil so you can keep your lines clean. So let's do the hatching. Here. Let's do your hatching with wider space lines for the light. More closely spaced for medium. So I'm still keeping a light pressure on my pencil. Another way to achieve darker shade can be combining the closer spaced lines and harder pressure on the pencil. And then for dark, more closely spaced and even harder pressure. As you can see, I don't move my fingers, I move my wrists or my elbows. For cross hatching, for the light layer, let's do 2 layers. You can actually try to angle your paper, but if as much as possible, if you can keep it in the same angle and just move your hand around, that would be better. Let's do 3 layers for the second medium. And 4 layers on the next box. Maybe you'll observe that some of my spacing is not as equal. So you'll see my point when I say try to avoid uneven spacing or else your work will become more blotchy. And then for the dark, you can add more layers and then increase the pressure on your pencil. Then our third layer, the fourth layer. The last layer. You can try to retouch the spaces with line there. So for stippling, we're not going to use lines anymore. We'll be using dots. So for our light shading, try to do widely spaced dots. And then as you go darker, more closely spaced, pull your pencil directly up. Try to avoid pulling it away or else you'll see these kinds of dots with tails. Okay, so I won't continue this. This is very time consuming. So maybe you can just do it at home before you submit your work for our prize for the watercolor pencils. So here you can see we have 3 cylinders for hatching, cross hatching, and stippling techniques. For the cylinder, you will have like your lightest part here in the middle and your darkest parts along the sides. So one way to do your hatching is to do your light lines widely spaced and try to stop before the center. And then You can fill in shorter lines in between. Try not to overlap with your light long line. There. And then you can put more short lines in between to get that dark fading. Another way you can do it is to divide this into 3 parts. 1, 2, 3 for your light. Medium. Add some more lines on the light part. And your dark. There. The top of your cylinder is just one solid color. So let's just put one layer. There. For cross hatching, let's do 2 layers on top of the cylinder. And then, again, let's follow the contours of the cylinder. Light first. And then you can have your medium. And then your dark line. Just try not to repeat the same angle so that it doesn't look messy. And then repeat it on the other side. Maybe we can put some vertical lines more closely spaced at first on the dark side and then a little bit wide spacing as you reach the center. There. Just do this on the other side of the cylinder. Next, for stippling, again, you can probably finish this at home. Try to do one even spread or coating of your dots on the top of your cylinder. And then try to put in a light layer of dots first on one side. Distribute your dots. And then, so you don't get bored, try to finish one corner first. Maybe this part. Try to put in dark. Medium. And then once you get how many dots to achieve your dark and medium, you can just copy that on your other areas. Here, that's how you draw your basic shape and shading using hatching, cross hatching, and stippling. Don't forget to upload your worksheet so we can choose a winner and send your watercolor pencils.
So again, we're flashing the mechanics on how our winners will be picked. We will, of course, also post the Google Drive folder link in the chat for the participants. Nakita ko si Paul at saka si Mitzi na gumagawa. So thank you very much for your participation. And then of course, we would like for you to upload your photo so that we will be able to again judge you. See, Professor Claudine will again, upon receiving your uploads, will automatically decide who will be winning the set for the Faber-Castell watercolor pencils. Now, of course, after this, we'll be announcing our winners maybe later on. So that being said, syempre, we have to go back to our format in which in this particular case, I would like to introduce another interior design firm, of course, very successful by two of our alumni. Now, of course, when we talk about beautiful interiors, they're just not meant to impress. They're meant also to improve people's lives, how we rest, how we heal, how we connect with the people that we love. Now, our final guests have lived that philosophy every day since they graduated. They're the principals of Oasis Interiors, a studio known for putting people, wellness, and everyday living at the center of every project, from homes to hospitality to lifestyle spaces. Now, these two firms have two very different journeys today, but one more proof of what PSID training can do. Now, please show some love and help us welcome Judith Ochengco and I Simbulan of Oasis Interiors.
Hi, good
Hi, good
afternoon,
afternoon,
everyone.
everyone. Yeah, so I'll be sharing our screen.
Yes,
Please let us know if
and
everything. Oh,
yeah, I'm actually I'm IDRI.
Sorry.
Sorry, yeah, go introduce it. And
Yeah,
she's IDR Judith Ochenco.
hindi ko makita. Is it this one?
Sorry, well, hindi ko alam, girl. Hindi ko ako lang yun. Nasa preview.
It is preview.
Sorry, wait.
Hi, sorry, sir. We're just experiencing some technical issues. Here. Ayan. Okay.
Hello. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Is our deck visible to everybody? Thank you. Okay. And again, I'm Judith from Oasis. This is Ice, my partner Ice. So for today, we will be talking about how we translate identity into interior space. But before we go on to that, we'd like to give you a brief background on our career as interior designers. So like what most people here are, we are also second degree holders na.
Yes.
So we were both working in corporate before when we decided to shift our career and enroll in PSID.
Yes.
And that is where I met Ice actually.
Yes, actually, we met each other on the first day of school, on the first class
Yeah.
of Sir Podge. And since then, we've been working together, moving forward from day one.
From day one,
Yeah.
yes. So interior design has a lot of topics talaga to cover, but we would like to zero in on some of the concepts that we've learned from school that we continue to refine in our practice when it comes to designing residential spaces. Sorry. Okay, so the psychology of space. So we do not simply experience spaces with our eyes, contrary to what many people believe interior design is. So we actually experience them through our memories, our emotions, and our senses. So all of these experiences are augmented by design elements which we apply in our practice.
So here are a few design elements, which are basically, we learn more about it in school. But basically, our first and one of the most important ones that we actually learned from Sir Podge and never forgot na. Parang it's
Yes.
one of the things that Sir Podge also taught us that you have to really take into heart is ergonomics. So it's where proportion, movement, comfort, safety, and function come together to create a space that feels as good as it looks. So basically, it's about human-centered design. So you have to design a space that will help people to move around or flow easily. And there's also, of course, lighting. So good lighting allows the space to perform at its best. It provides visibility, supports tasks, and improves safety and guides movement. So
Yeah, the next is colors. This might be obvious, but it affects our perception of a space more than you think. So often the dimensions of a room stay the same, but through colors you can actually change the experience. You can expand the space, make it smaller, focus on a certain focal point, and more. Next is materials. Kung makita, ayun. Texture is not merely a visual element, it's a sensory and emotional experience. So can make a space feel more layered and human. And it also, of course, gives you that sense of comfort depending on the materials that you use.
on the side note,
Oh, yeah.
actually, if you see a lot of actually interior designers, architects, or even
Mm.
contractors, like
Mm-mm.
when you go to a
Right.
certain space, if you see people touching the walls, or it's usually all of the interior designers checking for the different materials that are used because texture is all very important when it comes to design.
Right. Yung mga kumakatok sa walls, mga malamang
Kami yun.
interior designers
So,
yun.
yeah.
And aside from those, we also make it a point that when we design for all senses. So it's a holistic approach in design. So with sight, it's the sense that gives the first impression of a space, like what I mentioned earlier, siya yung pinaka-obvious when it comes to interior design. But the rest of the senses also play a part in how we perceive spaces. So the sense of touch is the sense that connects us physically to a space. The sense of hearing is the sense that perceives comfort and privacy. This is one thing a lot of people kind of forget, but
Yes, this is also where the acoustics come in if you want na mas mahina the sound and all that. So of course, smell is also actually one of the things that are also overlooked. So even when it comes to branding, like if you come to if you go to a hotel, specifically Shangri-La, they smell the same everywhere. Like everywhere, there's a certain smell that comes with it, which is also included when you design for a space.
even the Adidas store.
They have a certain
If you're
step.
familiar.
And then the
Yeah,
last
that's
one,
part
of course, is taste, which is basically actually how places come together. They bring people together, like the dining area where people hang out more. Of course, it also affects how, if you want to stay longer or if you just want to breeze through a meal, of course, that matters as well.
Yeah, so yun, ang bilis namin, no?
Sorry, but it's different.
Ayan. Kasi we want to focus more on how we practice kasi. So again, so this one is very important to us. So before a space can inspire us, it must first serve us.
Yes, I think one of the notions usually is that when you're an interior designer, what matters to you is always how a place looks aesthetically. But actually, for us specifically, we work with residential spaces, so we want to design for reality, not for fantasy. So it's okay to living with imperfections. Like if a place can have their cells always messy, it's not always. You're not designing a showroom. You're designing a home that is well lived.
And very personal
Yeah.
for our clients. So the measure of design is not how beautiful a space looks, but how beautifully it allows people to live. Yeah. So in our practice, this is what we always have in mind, that we before we design, we listen. So a space, we make it a point that a space should feel like it belongs to the person who owns it, who uses it, versus us, the designers who created it. So we'll walk through our process, an overview of our process when we design. So first,
We always start with the person or the client. So when we start analyzing a space, we first interview our client. So actually, for us, this is one of the most important steps. There's a design brief that we ask them. We actually have a in-depth interview about how they move in their home, not just what they like. We also ask what they don't like.
Yeah.
So it's more than just knowing things about them. It's also understanding their story,
Yes.
how their daily lives are. And then with that, we translate their needs and emotions into design. And as mentioned earlier, we use the different
Yes.
design elements. And then
Ergonomics,
that's what we use to create a space that feels more like them. So as Judith mentioned earlier, when we design a home, it should feel that it belongs to the person inhabiting it, not exactly us as the designer. So the home that we create should be more of them.
Right. And this process actually doesn't happen overnight. It's as much as we want to know everything that we need to know at the beginning. Of course, it's a process that a process that goes through all stages of interior design. So it's not just even if we have the perfect plans, even if we have all the answers to our questionnaire, sometimes our clients would realize some things that they want, some things that they don't want. So a part of that is being able to adapt to those changes as well.
Also, it's not just in the things that they say, it's also you observe how they move. So basically, we always try to study our clients the best way that we can.
Next. So aside from knowing our clients, where they are at the moment, we also try to know the past and the present and the future when it comes to how they used to live, how they would like to live eventually. So we honor where they've been, we understand where they are, and we also try to imagine where they're going.
Because a good design always grows with you. It doesn't stay in a, like when you design it now, that's it. Because people also grow. So the space that you design should grow together with them
Right.
and their needs.
Right. So in this deck, actually, we would like to show you some of our projects where we show this part of our practice. So on the first photo, you can see this is actually a very old home that we had to redesign for a couple that would live there for only 5 years. Yeah. So there's a lot of charm in this old house, but of course we have to make it livable in a way that the couple would want to live. So we brought in all of their stuff and we had to enhance it with the new things that we have to buy. For the second one, this another one is an old home, but the family dynamics have changed, so we have to repurpose a lot of the areas in the house. So, and for the last one, this one naman is a smart home that we had to design for a client who does not live in the Philippines for now, but would be living here in the future. So they wanted something modular, they want a smart home, so they want a more of a forever home, even if they're not here yet. So all of those things that we have to consider, not just the project itself during the turnover, but also how the people there would be using the space.
Next slide.
Yeah. Our
Okay.
favorite.
Our favorite. So as mentioned by Judith earlier, so basically no matter how prepared you are and how much you have all of the plans, you've done everything right, there's always the site.
Our
So
plot twist.
it's something that you cannot be prepared for enough. So
We're not trying to scam.
yeah, we're not, but this is the reality of the practice in itself. So basically, what happens is, for example, you enter a site with one problem, you leave with 10. So it just happens all the time. So you're actually, as an interior designer, you're also a problem solver, and it happens most of the time once construction is happening. Because creativity is not just imagination, it's actually finding a way. So you have to make a way that your ideas come to life.
Right. And as interior designers, our service does not end when we sign the plans. For us, it goes beyond the plans. As what Ice mentioned, we are also problem solvers. So when we offer our interior design service to our clients, we also make sure that we are there to help them solve these problems. Actually, better if they don't even
Most
get to
of
know
the time,
what
they
the
don't
problem-
know what the
yes.
problem is.
Yes.
So that's just something that we do on a daily basis.
Right. And we also remind ourselves all the time that, especially for residential projects, that this is a job for us, but for our clients, it's very personal. It's very personal for them. So we have to put ourselves in their shoes whenever we face these problems that we have to deal with every day on site or even outside the site.
Yeah, because our role actually as interior designers is to always to go beyond the plan. So whatever the plan is, you always go beyond that in every project.
Which brings us to
Another
another
important
important
point,
thing.
actually.
Yeah. So again, as mentioned by Ice, we have our plans. Problems arise in the site, but we also want to acknowledge that these homes and these spaces that we create for our clients, they're not there just because of us. So we collaborate with a lot of different people, a lot of trades, so general contractors, subcontractors, trade specialists, suppliers, even other designers as well. So we also want to acknowledge that all of these oases that we create for our clients, they're done. It takes a village to
Yeah,
create
you
these
actually don't
spaces.
design alone. So there's always a lot of people and a lot of suppliers involved in a certain project. So like for example, the picture on the leftmost, which is like if you can see, there are so many different suppliers in just one photo. So
And
there's
it's a
a
small
supply,
corner.
in that small corner, you can see that your supplier for the lights, your supplier for your substrates, for
Your
the laser
CNC,
cuts, yeah,
yes, the
everything. And then
panels.
even the contractor who made it. So you have to work together with a lot of people. And unlike when you work in corporate, that you work with the same people, this is a different set of people per project. So
Right.
that's one thing that's a given when when you work with interior design.
And with
Yeah.
that, actually, this is how we have always thought of our practice. So our signature is not how our spaces look. It's how deeply we understand the people we design for.
Yes. So basically, we translate between the people and the spaces that we design.
And with that, I think we
Yes.
are
Yeah,
we're on
oh,
time.
yeah, but I also want to note, there was a question earlier
Yeah.
about if you need to, like, what if you cannot draw? That's me. So actually, I do not know how to draw for the life of me. But actually, it was one of the reasons why I was hesitant to study interior design.
Mhm.
But I jumped into it head first. And you actually learn how to draw in school. PSID actually helped me a lot to be able to translate my ideas into paper. So with that, and now there's really a lot of help when you work digitally for someone who has I have a hard time in drawing until now. So the digital world actually helps a lot in terms of putting your visions to life.
Okay.
So there, if you have any questions,
So yes, we're going to be going through our Q&A right after some reminders. I would just like to remind everyone to please upload your worksheets to the Google Drive. And then again, I think some people are having a hard time uploading. So maybe we can address this concern. But it has to be in the Google Drive so that again, Miss Professor Claudine can actually have access to it. So that being said, thank you, Ice and Judith.
Thank you,
And
sir.
of course, I've worked with these women several times
Nawala yung audience.
that, of course, have been is from Sofronio. Can someone become an excellent interior designer even if sketching? I think this is already answered. And the second question is with AI and visualization software improving rapidly, what human skills do you believe will remain indispensable for interior designers? Which is a very, very good question.
Right, sir. So with AI kasi, so right now it's rapidly developing as we know. But like what we mentioned earlier, at least in our practice, when we design for residential spaces for our clients, there has to be that human
connection.
connection in it. And also, one thing that I think AI will never be able to replace is the empathy that you put in your practice when you get to know these people that you work with, not just your clients, even not just your clients. So it also involves, again, the trades that we work with, and also the adaptability, which was mentioned earlier by Misty. So yung adaptability na yun just doesn't translate lang to adapting your design to the client. It also needs our projects also need your ability to adapt to any situation that may and can happen in any design project. So as an interior designer, you're not just uh, enclosed in your plans. You have to execute your plans, and a lot of things happen when you execute your plan. So the human factor there
Yeah,
is
it's
one
still
thing that
very different, especially for residential. I think that's something that cannot be replaced by AI because you build connections with the people you work with, and that's how you understand how they live. Which is very different because sometimes, as we mentioned earlier, what they say is different from how they move or how they act. So that type of observation cannot be replaced by AI.
And to add to that, I think one of the things that Ice and Judith also mentioned is that designing or interior designing is not just at the present stage. What AI actually does is just, provide a solution right here and now. But again, agreeing with designing for the future for your forever home, AI cannot predict what the space is going to be looking like when you have a family, when you marry, when you actually have children or grandchildren. So the space evolves. And at the same time, it's the interior designer who adapts to those evolved changes. So this is, again, something that we've all had to learn about to
yes.
actually cope up with. Another question here is, what do you think are the appropriate limitations of architectural interiors in shaping an interior design?
Sorry, sir.
May sagot ako niyan, di ba? What are the, what
Sige,
are the
sir.
appropriate limitations of architectural interiors in shaping an interior design? Yung mga poste sa gitna, yan. Architectural
Perfect place tayo
limitations
na
na
ganun.
cannot come down, di ba? Which I
Mhm,
hate it,
mhm.
di ba? I hate it every time I encounter an interior space and then there's like this very large pillar in the middle of the room. So
Right,
I
right.
cannot understand why that happens. But anyway,
But
sige.
we have to work with
You have
it
to work
because
with it.
it's
I
there.
think that's where your creativity comes in and your adaptability comes in. Kasi again, what we've learned from Sir Podge, actually, design is primarily a solution to a problem. So if the post is the problem, then you're a good designer if you can address that problem. Yes, sir, may natutunan ako, di ba?
Never na namin
Never
nakalimutan
namin
yan.
nakalimutan yan, sir.
Sorry.
Maraming limitations actually. Sometimes
Right,
low
right.
ceiling height, diba? Or sometimes there's actually like an exposed beam, or sometimes the sprinkler systems are so
Right.
exposed, diba?
Madami. Sobrang
Even
dami.
the electrical
A lot of architectural
limitations.
limitations are present. But this is actually what challenges interior designers the most. Diba?
Right.
Because those are, kunyari, you approach a space and then andun na nga, di ba? May poses sa gitna, mababa ang ceiling, may exposed beam, exposed ang sprinklers, all of these things. And then after an interior designer has gone through the space, you won't even notice all these things anymore.
Yes.
Di ba? Parang the magic happens because, again, of the solutions that the designers provide. I think, di ba? Medyo collaborative yung answers natin dyan.
Yes.
Now, another
It's a shared
another
experience, sir.
question here is, how do you design a space differently when you're designing for someone's emotional well-being, not just their floor plan?
No.
Sir, I think
Okay.
because since we work with residential, it's always for their emotional
Yes.
well-being to begin with. I mean, we prioritize that all the time because it's their daily lives. It will affect how they are. Like, for example, if you are in a space that you don't like, mainit na yung ulo mo buong araw. Like, if you wake up in a room that
It's
feels
hard to
yeah, it's
navigate.
hard to navigate. Like, everything you do is like when you move to one space, bumangga na yung tuhod mo because there's not enough space. So parang I think for us as we focus on residentials, we always consider
The
the
emotional.
emotional well-being of the people we designed for.
Thank you. I think
Sir,
also,
sorry. Sir,
So,
Yes.
we received a private
ah,
message.
pala to.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, we received a
Sorry.
private message. So if it's okay that we bring it up. So
It's
Yeah.
also a question, sir.
someone asked us a question. So how did you start Oasis Interiors and what's your experience in your first projects? How were you able to find them and how did they find you?
Okay. How did we start? So again, as mentioned by Ice earlier, we met in school on the first day, on the first subject. Kami,
Because
we're the earliest
because we don't
students.
like being late.
Yeah.
So
So
that was
eventually we started working together in school, and then we found out that we share the same work ethic.
yeah.
Although our styles are very
Yes,
different, personal
that's
styles.
actually what surprises a lot of people is we don't have the same style in design. So we're very different in terms of time. But since we have the same work ethic, it worked from day one. So we started actually first with doing projects together for school. So we did a lot of plates with Sir Bodji. He saw a lot of plates that we've made together. So we've been working together since the start of our interior design journey. And it's easy to parang it's natural.
Yeah, and it's not just eventually it's not just the work ethic that we found ourselves having in common. We also found na what we wanted, our vision for our practice when we graduate is again to provide Oasis for our clients. That's why we have Oasis as our names actually. Because we wanted to create an Oasis, one space at a time. So the vision is there, the work ethic is there. So we decided that we will work together, and until now we're
We're
here.
still, it's been more than a decade and we're still working together. And the other question is how are we able to find our first projects? Actually, some are through common friends. So initially we worked with people who we already knew. So they gave us an opportunity to design for them. And some even actually just friends of friends. At first it was all friends of friends and connections, referrals, and then
Relatives,
relatives and family. So it all starts with that. And then you just keep moving forward from there. Like
yeah, you
if
build
you,
your
yeah, you build your
portfolio.
portfolio because actually word of mouth is faster than any form of marketing.
At
So
least
if
for
you,
us.
for
At
us,
least for
how it worked for us. So if you do well in your project, you will always find a way to find
Mhm.
clients. They always put your name out there. And we've been lucky in that sense.
I'd like to add to that. Kasi kanina si Misty also mentioned, di ba, that at the start of their careers, di ba, they just practically took in everything that was offered to
Yes.
Yes,
them.
Yes.
yes,
That's
we
also
also
a very good way to start. Yung tipong kahit na it's a very, very small space, hindi mo masasabi kasi manganganak yun eh. I had this one particular client na she just wanted me to design a 2 by 3 powder
oh,
room. So it's a very, very small powder room. But then when she found out that it came out nice, mamaya dining room na, mamaya, di ba, parang the
right.
entire house na. So it's really, parang for me, it pays to really like, put yourself out there.
Yes.
Everything that is actually offered to you, you accept. Because
Yes.
again, it's going to spread the word. It's going to actually create that ad advertisement for you. I think this came from Bernadette, di ba? That particular question. Meron pa siyang
Yes.
isang question eh.
Ah,
Parang, do you think that interior designers are in demand now? Right now, I want to become a freelancer, but I feel it's hard to find personal clients. I've worked for others for a year, but I actually found it hard because of OT. Any thoughts po?
Hmm.
napag-isip ko talaga dun.
Thoughts?
Okay.
Just to add first on yung discussion ni Sir about like putting yourself out there. If I remember correctly, our first ever check for Oasis Interiors is actually 3,000 pesos. So that was our first check and we had to split it and we were very happy. So in
We
terms
appreciate
of
also.
yeah, it we were very happy. Like it was like because it was ours. Because we started it on our own. So given that it's more of it's really difficult. I'm not gonna sugarcoat starting your own business as something that will just fly by. It's difficult. But you just have to keep on thinking positive and you just keep moving forward. So you put yourself out there you talk to people. Like for
Yeah.
us, we ask for or see who needs an interior designer, even if
Even in social events, we
even in
try
social
to,
events, even
or
if
mga,
both of us were not very we're introverts, we don't like but we had to. We had
And
to.
I think yung also what Misty said earlier, she took and so
And no
any
project is
yeah.
too small, especially when you're starting, because it's not just getting a new project, you're also learning experience. Because, of course, in practice, it's different than theoretical things you just learn. So, in practice, that's where you actually grow.
Okay, so we have a second to the last question here. As sustainability now becomes a necessity rather than a trend, how do you balance environmentally responsible design with clients' budgets and expectations?
Yung budget
Ikaw,
lumabas. Well, actually,
Dati naman may ganun reality
ay,
first.
totoo, sir, pag
Totoo
lumabas yung
yun. Pag
budget
lumabas na yung budget,
No, actually, a lot of materials naman are available naman na.
there are a lot of
Yeah,
options.
there are a lot of
actually.
options. And actually, one thing also that can help you build a more sustainable space for your own is actually investing on materials that you know would last. Not just yung syempre environmentally friendly na sila, but you also want to make sure that they would last so that you don't have to change it every now and then. So
Yeah, that's one
that's also
thing that we also tell our clients. So parang you invest in a furniture piece, that one will last longer, and you'll spend the same if you spend on a piece that will not last long because you'll keep on changing it. Eh. So in the end of the day, same pa din your expense
yeah, and
in
we
terms
also
of that.
tap
Yeah.
craftsmen who
Yeah.
yes, we don't as much as possible we try to tap craftsmen and trade that alam namin that would help. It's also a sustainable practice because we're supporting local workers, local traders, not just getting stuff that's parang mass produced and who knows how they've been
Yeah.
produced. So there are a lot of ways actually. And one of those, and actually marami rin natuturo sa school that
Yeah.
we also have requirements there sa school na dun pa lang, I mean sa PSID pa lang, you will be trained on how to design sustainably. It's not just a material set, it's not just the items that you use in design. It's a very holistic approach
Yeah.
in sustainable design. Parang
So on
meron
that note, diba, let me just make mention that aside from freehand drawing, Professor Claudine also teaches materials and methods.
yun.
So
Yun,
you will be
madami yun.
Madami.
Madami yun.
you will be exposed to a lot of materials na sustainable talaga. So this will be again something. And mga design challenges would also, of course, tackle sustainability, especially when you're already in your higher years. And then our last question for today, Ice, Judith, can you walk us through a project where the finished space genuinely changed how someone felt at home?
Actually, we had a project during the pandemic when we were already doubting ourselves kung magkaka-project kami during the pandemic.
Because as interior designers, we didn't have the option of work from home.
Yeah,
So
we have to be
on
on-site, right? So
site. So
we have one particular project. This client approached us through Instagram. We don't know her. She doesn't know us. No common friends at all.
nothing.
I think she just made a shot then. She wanted us to design her home in Cagayan de Oro. And there was no way for us to go there
Fly.
to meet her personally because
Na.
it was the pandemic, right? But she wanted all the furniture to be coming from
Manila.
or
Everything.
from our suppliers from the suppliers that we trust. So we only met her through Zoom, through video calls. We tried to gather as much information as possible. We don't know if how much she trusted us, and we don't even know if we could trust her. But again, we took the leap. We designed for her. We sent everything to her.
Everything was just online.
Everything was online. And after that, actually, ang brief niya sa amin was she felt so suffocated in her house during that time because it's the pandemic again. You can't go out. She can't do any other activities. She was afraid to have other people come into her house to remodel or to rebuild. So we designed her house for her in such a way that wala na construction na mangyayari. But after we've done the project, she was able to follow the plans as we directed her.
It was
And
a
then
lot
also,
of thing was just basically online. So we had a
online.
lot of Zoom, even when it comes to accessorizing.
Mhm.
Everything was like we were talking online and then kept
Online,
pointing that
yeah,
you
yung
put this,
base,
everything we sent from the
yeah.
box you put there. And what's amazing about that experience is because after that one, we're still good friends with our client up to now.
May
So
projects
yeah, we still have
continue with
ongoing
her.
projects with
If she
them.
has a new property, he
Yes.
would tap
He
us.
would tap us. And
And
even when the pandemic opened already, she also invited us to come to her home in Cagayan de Oro. So that
I
one is you just really have to put yourself out there. and and she was very happy. She was very happy that because it was affecting her already, the current home that she was living in was affecting her very much. She
mentally,
felt very cramped, very unable to move. And then after we decided, she told us that
she was so
he was
happy.
very happy.
Her
Her
whole
family was
family was
happy.
happy. I think that's the most
Yeah,
fulfilling
and
part
everything was just done remotely.
remotely.
So that was a challenge for us, but she was very happy. And that's the thing about interior design. Actually, most of our clients also become good friends. So
Fortunately for us.
yeah, just fortunately for us. So that's a good thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think surprisingly, the questions have stopped. So medyo napagod na rin yung mga tao.
On time tayo.
So I would just like to remind everyone that for those who uploaded their worksheets, we will be accepting them until tonight. And then we will be, of course, announcing the winners tomorrow. We will be reaching out to you kung sino man yung nanalo. And then, of course, also, stay tuned for our raffle later. Now, of course, I would like to thank everyone who participated in today's open house. Of course, Misty. Syempre, we missed Pai. And of course, Claudine. And of course, Ice and Judith. Thank you very much because every time that PSID calls on you, you actually come. So I'm very, very happy for that.
Sir,
Now,
Thanks,
thanks for
sir.
thinking of us.
of course, all the time. Now, 1.5 hours ago, what we did was we actually, of course, try to like gauge what career can be actually stemming from creativity. And you've met now 6 designers, including myself, who have answered this question. Now, the only question left is yours. What is your next step? What are you going to be doing with that creativity? Now, of course, every link is in the chat right now. You can learn more when you view our website, our Instagram, our Facebook, and of course, YouTube. And if, of course, PSID is for you, we, of course, encourage you to apply now for this academic year, 2026-2027. And now, of course, we move on to the moment that you have been waiting for. As promised, one of our attendees for today, still in the room, will win a cash prize of 2,500 pesos. So ayan, kasalukuyang pinapaikot ang ating roleta. At we have a winner, Nina Christine P. David. Congratulations. Yay. Woo. Thank you very much for participating in our open house. We will be reaching out to you on how you're able to actually claim your prize. So congratulations. Our team will message you right after this session to make arrangements. Congratulations. And then remember, everyone, of course, who submits their shaded workshop entry with a registered name still has a chance to win the Faber-Castell watercolor pencils. Now, at this point, of course, we moved into our closing. We didn't just talk about interior design today. We experienced a comparison of different journeys of becoming a designer from the residential point of view and, of course, from the commercial point of view. We imagined new possibilities. We made something with our hands. And we saw, of course, how thoughtful the spaces can genuinely transform lives. In this afternoon, we have already sparked something in you, even the smallest curiosity. So please don't let it end when this window closes. Visit our campus and reach out to ask us questions. Because every designer's journey begins with a single decision to explore, and yours might have just started today. Now, you will receive a follow-up email from us with everything from this session, the links, the mechanics, and of course, your next steps. On behalf of everyone at the Philippine School of Interior Design, thank you very much for spending your Saturday afternoon with us. We hope to welcome you soon, not just a visitor, but of course, as part of the next generation of designers. Have a wonderful day, everyone. I will be your teacher when you actually come here. First class. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.